Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we have the long-awaited and much requested management consulting interview process and tips video. You guys have been waiting for this one, you've been asking for it, and I'm so excited to finally bring it to you. Before we begin, I would like to give a humongous thank you to Simple Slides for sponsoring today's video. Simple Slides is a tool that helps you create beautiful presentations, whether it's in PowerPoint, Google Slides, or Keynote. Basically, they make PowerPoint templates for you guys to use to make your presentations look top notch. I seriously wish I had this in university. They also have infographics for you to use, so it's really perfect for anyone who's a student, an aspiring consultant, or a consultant already. So I will talk more about Simple Slides later on in the video, but I am so thrilled to be working with them. They're so cool, so check them out down below. I will have a link for you guys and a discount code as well. So if you guys are new to my channel, make sure you're subscribed for more consulting videos. I've got a few up already. I have an expectations versus reality. I have a story time of why I actually left Big Four management consulting. And I have a bunch of vlogs about days and weeks in my life as a tech consultant, which I am now. So let's get into the content that you guys are all here for. I've got my handy dandy notebook with all of my tips. So let's do it. We are in the middle of a heat wave in Montreal and I am sweating. I think I need to put my hair up because this is just out of control. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I'm a little bit nervous to film this video just because it's been so highly requested and I'm putting a lot of pressure on the video. I don't know why, so I just need to calm down and be my authentic self, as you know, I try to always be with you guys. So we're going to talk about the process of applying for jobs in consulting, the interview process, and I'm going to give you guys some tips along the way. Please note that I am not going to go too much into detail about consulting frameworks or the interview frameworks because there's so much content like that already here on YouTube and on blogs and stuff. So you guys can go and look at that content for when you want the specifics. Today's video is going to be an overview of the overall process, talk about my experience, how it went, tips for you guys, because I've got a lot of friends who went through it too, so let's go. So the process looks different for everybody, and it really depends whether you are coming out of school or just applying for a position. So my experience with the recruitment cycle was out of school. So I applied to a new grad position at a Big Four firm. I applied to lots of firms actually. And I had a few different sets of interviews and they were all different. For the most part, what it looks like is, first of all, they will come to your school and do like an info session. If they don't go to your school, sometimes they just have one in the city and all the universities get to go. Those are really, really helpful. And they will just, talk about some tips for the interview, whatever, and then you go on and apply. So all of the applications are very similar. You attach a CV, a cover letter, and many firms are now having you either do some sort of math test, an IQ test, and also a video. I had to do all three for a bunch of my applications. And the video is kind of to replace like a phone interview. It's basically like a screening test. So make sure that you are taking the video seriously. Make sure that, you dress nice, maybe wear a blazer, be calm, don't rush through it, and, take it seriously because it's very, very important. It's actually going to be your future colleagues who are watching that video because they have the consultants look at those application videos. Also, make sure that you take the math test and the sort of IQ test seriously as well. It's not that hard, but you do need to practice in order to kind of get a good grade on it. And if you don't get a good enough grade or a passing score, your application is automatically denied and you don't go on to the next step. Hey guys, so future me editing this video, I just had to pop in. I don't think I emphasized enough how important those tests are. They're not hard, but if you don't take them seriously, you will not move on to the next round. You can have done all of the perfect grades, you can have the most perfect cover letter, you can have done all of the involvement at school, but if you don't practice and mess up the math test, you're not going on to the next round. So don't sleep on these tests. Don't sleep on the video interview. Take it seriously. I have friends who forgot about the video interview, did it late night after a couple glasses of wine and said the wrong firm's name. They forgot where they were interviewing and they didn't move on to the next round. And that person was a perfect candidate, ended up going on to work at McKinsey, but messed up, one of the Big Four video interviews. So seriously, guys, take it seriously. So once that first step is done, And not all firms have that first step. You go into the interview rounds. The first interview for pretty much every single firm is very similar, and it's split in two parts. It's split up between a case interview and a behavioral interview. The behavioral interview is where you have a one-on-one interview, usually with a partner or else someone very high up at the firm, and you talk about your work experience, your school experience, your leadership experience. Were you involved in clubs, societies at university? You talk about all of that, and they are also going to ask you some fit questions. So they want to know, do you fit with the culture of this firm? Could we get along? A common test, for consulting is, can I sit next to this person on an airplane for 6 hours? Because let's say you're traveling for work and you guys are sitting next to each other. Can you talk about, things beyond work while you're stuck next to each other? So that's a very common, consulting thing. So make sure before the interview that you are calm, that you are, being true to yourself, be genuine, be yourself, relax. I recommend practicing the behavioral interviews either with a friend, a family member, or someone at your university or a career coach, because they're not as easy as they think. And I do not recommend winging the behavioral interview. It's really important that you're able to tell good stories about your work experience and your involvement at school as well. So I just want to mention quickly, you don't freak out if you have no work experience or have no school experience. I think it's definitely important to have at least one of the two, because you need to talk about times you've worked and times you've worked in a team. So get all of those stories ready. A lot of the times they are going to ask you in this interview, tell me about a time you failed, tell me about a time you worked with someone who was difficult, tell me about your time management skills. They want to see, can this person be a good consultant? Can they work under pressure? Can they work in a team? All of that stuff, very typical interview questions, and you guys can find those online. They're just everywhere. Practice your answers to those questions. Now let's talk about the case interview, because this is what gets everyone very worked up. There are so many different frameworks, so many different styles of case interviews, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys. And I don't want you to get discouraged by the case interview or overwhelmed by it in any way, because it's not as bad as you might think. I was so stressed about the case interview. I remember crying while practicing for it. I remember thinking, oh, my friend is so much better at mental math than me, so she's gonna do better, I don't stand a chance. And everybody's different. So remember that there's no right answer to the case, and I think that's so important. These cases are designed for there to be no right answer. They simply want to see your thought process. So as someone like me who's less, numerical and analytical and detail oriented, I take a bigger picture approach to the case, whereas someone else might take a more minute approach to the case. And they need both kinds of people in consulting. So whichever one you are, you're fine. Practice cases as much as you can and practice them with others, because just doing it by yourself and then reading the answer key isn't going to be as helpful as really walking through the case interview with someone doing a mock case interview. I think that is so important. Another thing that I want to talk about is some firms are starting to change the way they do the case. I actually participated in a group case interview where everybody had the same case with a little bit different information, and we had to work as a team to come up with a solution. So that one's less easy to practice for, but just practicing any kind of case is going to be really beneficial. Now, a lot of firms are also having their students or their applicants, do presentations. So they'll give you a case. Sometimes it's on the spot. Sometimes they give you the case at home, and you have to build a presentation, sometimes with a visual as well, and go up and deliver that presentation in front of consultants and managers and partners at the firm. So this is where I would like to segue into today's sponsorship for the video, which is Simple Slides. So like I said at the beginning of the video, Simple Slides is PowerPoint templates and infographics that help you create really visually appealing presentations. Let me tell you guys, if there is one thing consultants hate, it is an ugly slideshow. So if you think, or if you know that you're gonna have to be doing a presentation for your case, I want you guys to be practicing your PowerPoint skills. It sounds silly, but you need to be making beautiful slides to impress those partners. And I'm not just saying that because today's video is sponsored by Simple Slides. You really need to have your slides on point, very clean looking, very nice looking. So if you head over to the Simple Slides website, you will see that there is a paid version and there's also a free demo version. So with the demo version, you can see a little hint as to what you're granted access with the full paid version. You have lifetime access to it and also constant updates. So they're always adding new templates, always making changes. They are so beautiful, you guys. I wish I had this when I was in university because my school presentations would have been amazing. But I plan on using them now. So I did a demo for you guys. I made just a little about me slide because I'm currently working on making a media kit for my YouTube channel. And I'm so glad that I have Simple Slides because yeah, I'm not the best at PowerPoint. Like it just takes forever. And this makes it so quick. Like you guys can see in the demo, it took me literally 2 minutes to make this slide and it looks stunning. So they have over 1,700 icons for your slides and there are updates every single month. So make sure that you check out Simple Slides and you can use my discount code that is on the screen here to save some money with your download. So thank you to Simple Slides for sponsoring this video. I really hope you guys check them out. I think that they will be so beneficial for you. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. How do you guys feel about PowerPoints and how do you feel about presentations? I want to know. So it's very important, like I said, to have your PowerPoints or your slides on point for this presentation. Make sure that when you give your presentation, you're speaking slowly, like not what I'm doing right now because I talk so fast, but you know, speak slowly, get your message across, stand tall, be proud, be confident. On that note, I really recommend watching a TED Talk by Amy Cuddy. I actually forget the name of it, but it's about power posing and how power posing can help you before a job interview to be more confident. And I think it is such an amazing TED Talk. It helped me a lot when I was participating in case competitions in university. And it's just really, really powerful. So check out that video. It should help with your interviews, both behavioral and case interviews as well. So that's it for like the first round of case interviews. Most firms do have 2 rounds of interviews. So after the first one, you will go back and usually the second interview, there's no more case. Usually the second one is just a final confirmation. So it's another fit interview, usually with a different partner or manager at the firm. And again, they're going to ask you more questions about your resume. They're going to ask you why you want to work here, and they're just going to assess the fit of you. So all the same tips apply. But yeah, so usually the application process is about 1 to 2 months. So from the time you send in your application, do your videos, etc., to the time that you actually get an offer. And most firms are very good and will give you an offer pretty much right away, like the next day or within a week. So the other thing I want to mention about the interview process is that it can be extremely stressful, not only because are you applying for a very competitive and in-demand job, but the firms are a little bit mean and they tend to smush all of the interviews at the same time. So you'll be running from your interview at Accenture to your interview at Deloitte to your interview at KPMG. It's a hectic month, but if you're going through it, I urge you guys to just soak it in because it is so fun. Like you get to meet so many people. Whether or not you get the job, you're meeting people, you're networking. Sometimes you will get to travel for your interviews. I got to fly to Toronto for one of my interviews, have a cocktail the night before, so food and drinks. Like it's stressful, but enjoy the moment because, you're never going to have that chance again unless, you go back to school and you graduate again and you go through a graduate recruiting cycle. So soak it in, have fun with it. Another thing I want to say is to be kind to everybody else who's going through this. So because all the interviews are going on at the same time, you are going to cross paths in the lobby, in the elevator, in the little waiting room with other candidates. And personally, I experienced a lot of great people. I met so many cool people who were interviewing, but I also met some people who were very sour and were trying to throw each other under the bus, before the interview, trying to psych each other out or make the other person feel bad. And I just want to say, you putting others down is not going to make you look any better, and it's not going to make you feel any better. So be kind to everybody that you meet along the application process because first of all, it's the right thing to do. And second of all, you never know when that person is going to come back into your life and come back into your network and could provide a lot of value to you. So the process looks a little bit different if you're not a new grad, but it is similar. The only thing that's different is it's not going to be so much of like an event. You're more going to see, you know, when a job posting is up on the website, you apply, and everything else will be pretty much the same. You'll have 2 rounds of interviews and all that stuff. Sometimes there are also firm tours, which are really cool to go on, where they'll show you around and introduce you to some of the consultants already working in the firm. Go to everything. Like if you have class, if you have a job already, whatever it is, whatever the firm is offering you to do, please go. So whether it's a cocktail for, you know, all the new candidates, or a firm tour, and maybe you have a class that night, or you're working at your other job, I don't care, call in sick, you need to be going to these events because you're gonna meet so many people. You never know, like I met at one of those cocktails, I met the partner that hired me the very next day, right? So had I not been there and had I not met her, I might have had less of an impression on her and maybe I wouldn't have gotten hired. So call in sick, do whatever it takes, go to those events. So now let's get into the more general tips portion of this video. I hope you're enjoying it so far. The first tip I want to say is sort of along the lines of what I just mentioned, is a lot of the times these consulting firms will have recruiting events throughout the year, whether it's a cocktail, an info session. There were a lot of events when I was in school that were like Women in Business by McKinsey, Women in Business by Oliver Wyman. Go to them. Sometimes they only accept women for those specific events. Sometimes it's both. If you are a man and they are accepting, you know, men at the Women in Business events, please go to them. Like, it's not just for girls, and I think, you know, it speaks really highly of you when you go to events like those. If it's just for girls, sorry, too bad, but there are so many other events that you can go to. Any time that a firm is coming to your school, I want you guys to go. I want you guys to network with the consultants that come speak to you. I want you to listen very closely to everything that the recruiter says, because they're gonna tell you, who should I address my cover letter to? Should I put my GPA on my CV? Should I not put my GPA on my CV? They're gonna give you really, really good information. They're also gonna be able to give you a timeline of the recruiting, you know, dates and periods. So that's really important. So what I recommend that you guys do is every single firm that you are interested in, bookmark their careers page and check it back all the time, or sign up for their mailing list. I was always checking. I really wanted to work at Oliver Wyman. I didn't get an interview there. My grades were too bad. But I really wanted to work at Oliver Wyman, and I was always going to their events. They let me go to their events, but then they didn't even give me an interview. But anyway, that's my personal drama. But yeah, so any of the firms that you are interested in, go to all of their events. It's so important. On that note, if you live in a city, or you go to a school that maybe isn't partnering with these firms, or you live in a smaller town and the firms aren't coming to your town, maybe consider taking a road trip with your friends up to another city and going to one of those events, or else contact the recruiter that's hosting the event and be like, hey, I live in tiny town. Can you please tell me like what was covered at the events? I'm so interested in working for you guys. It's just like, I couldn't drive 10 hours to the event, but you know, figure out the speech that is appropriate and relevant and genuine to you, and make sure that you are reaching out to people. So let's talk about networking. It's so important. Before getting into consulting, what a lot of people will do is they will reach out to consultants on LinkedIn, ask for coffee chats, ask for information. And if you guys watched, you know, my other videos, you know, I hate schmoozing and I hate being like, can we go for coffee? But yeah, I had to do it. And it helped. It's good to get an idea of the job. It's really good to get an idea of the firm. And I think had I gone maybe for coffee with more people who worked at the firm that I was at, I might have seen, hey, maybe this isn't the place for me. So remember that as much as you want to get a job, you're also kind of shopping, because you're going to be spending a lot of time there. You're going to be putting a lot of effort and emotion into your job. So I would use your networking instead of like, oh, I'm gonna get so much information out of these people and they're gonna help me get a job. What like valuable information can you get out of them? Not besides a job. What can you learn from them? What can you find out about these companies that's gonna give you an upper hand, but also tell you, you know, hey, do I really wanna work here? I think it's so important. So reach out to people on LinkedIn, you know, have fun, do some stalking. Please, guys, never copy paste the same message to a bunch of people on LinkedIn. Consultants see right through that stuff. We get a lot of you know, requests for coffee, requests for CV reviews. And to be fully honest, if you message somebody on LinkedIn and say like, hey, I see you're a consultant at BCG, you know, can we go for coffee? Can you review my CV? It's a little bit insulting because you're not really considering the person as an individual and you're not honoring how busy they are. So make sure that your messages are genuine. I would say something like, hey, you know, we met at the BCG recruiting event last week. It was so nice to talk to you. I see you're also into snowboarding. I'm really into snowboarding. Okay, that was such a bad example, but you guys kind of catch my drift. Just be genuine, never copy paste. And I think you'll get a much higher success rate with your networking if you do it that way. The other thing I want to say is don't only reach out to the young entry-level consultants. I would really like to see you guys reaching out to more higher levels, maybe not partners because partners are insanely busy, but look at like senior consultants and directors and what can you learn from them. I think a lot of the times we stick with younger people because it's less daunting to message someone who's like closer to our age. But really consider messaging someone, you know, a little bit higher up in the company as well. And always when you're networking, make sure you're giving them what can I give to you rather than just take from them. So very good. So my last tip is just to be true to yourself and be confident. Recruiters can tell right away when somebody is not confident, and it's unfortunate, but the truth is that if you're very shy and very, you know, nervous and not confident, and it's so much to the point that it shows, it's just not going to get you very far in the interview process. So try the power posing technique that I mentioned earlier. Make sure that, you know, you're talking to people. Have fun with this experience. Don't get so dragged down, and try and remove ego from it. So I, you know, went through a rough time during my interview process because every time I got rejected, I took it so personally. I really took it as a sign of my self-worth, and it's not. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people applying for these positions, and there aren't that many positions available. I'm not saying that to discourage you, but just remember, if you get a rejection, it's really not a big deal. Everybody gets rejected. I got rejected from loads of firms, and I still got a job, and I have a great career now. So just, you know, keep having fun with it. Keep your confidence up, because the second you get down and the second you get discouraged, it's all just going to feel like too much. It's not going to be fun. And that attitude will show when you're going through the interviews. So I want to wish you guys the very best of luck with your consulting interviews. If you feel like you need one-on-one support, I am offering one-on-one career consultations and CV reviews. It's $35 an hour US. So send me an email if that interests you. I'd love to work with you, or let me know if you have more questions about that. And yes, that just about covers it for the video. Actually, that does cover it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you are subscribed, and I will talk to you all in my next video. Bye. Do anything for the